The Mahayana Uttaratantra Śāstra, or Ratnagotravibhāga, attributed to Arya Maitreya, or Sāramati, Janyi. Chapter 1, Tathāgatagarbha. Introduction. I bow down to all Buddhas and bodhisattvas. If condensed, the body of the entire commentary consists of the following 7 vajra points: Buddha, Dharma, the assembly, the element, enlightenment, qualities, and then Buddha activity. In the above order, which presents them in a logical sequence, these vajra points should be known to be derived from the sutra requested by King Dharanishvara. The first 3 stem from its introductory chapter, and the latter 4 from its chapters on the properties of those who possess understanding and the victorious one. From the Buddha stems the Dharma, from the Dharma the assembly of noble ones, from the assembly the attainment of Buddha nature, the element of primordial wisdom. This wisdom finally attained is supreme enlightenment, the powers, and so on, thus possessing the properties that fulfill the benefit of all sentient beings. The first 3 vajra points, the 3 jewels. Buddha. Buddha is without beginning, middle, or end. He is peace itself, fully self-awakened and self-expanded in Buddhahood. Having reached this state, he shows the indestructible, permanent path so that those who have no realization may realize. Wielding the supreme sword and vajra of knowledge and compassionate love, he cuts the seedling of suffering and destroys the wall of doubts along with its surrounding thicket of various views. I bow down to this Buddha. Being uncreated and spontaneously present, not a realization due to extraneous conditions, wielding knowledge, compassionate love, and ability, Buddhahood has the qualities of the 2 benefits. Its nature is without beginning, middle, or end. Hence the state of a Buddha is uncreated. Since it possesses the peaceful Dharmakaya, it is described as being spontaneously present. Since it must be realized through self-awareness, it is not a realization due to extraneous conditions. These 3 aspects being realized, there is knowledge. Since the path is shown, there is compassionate love. There is ability, since the mental poisons and suffering are relinquished by primordial wisdom and compassion. Through the first 3, there is benefit for oneself. Through the latter 3, there is benefit for others. Dharma. The Dharma is neither non-existent nor existent. It is not both existent and non-existent, nor is it other than existent and non-existent. It is inaccessible to such investigation and cannot be defined. It is self-aware and peace. The Dharma is without defilement. Holding the brilliant light rays of primordial wisdom, it fully defeats attachment, aversion, and dull indifference with regard to all objects of perception. I bow down to this son of the sacred Dharma. Inconceivable, free from the 2 veils and from thought, being pure, clear, and playing the part of an antidote, it is free from attachment, and frees from attachment. This is the Dharma with its features of the 2 truths. Freedom from attachment as fruit and means consists of the truths of cessation and path. Accordingly, these should also be known by means of 3 qualities each. Not being an object of conceptual investigation, being inexpressible and only to be known by noble ones, the Dharma is inconceivable. Since it is peace, it is free from the 2 veils and free from thought. In its 3 aspects of purity and so on, it is similar to the sun. Sangha. This mind being by nature clear light, they have seen the poisons to be essenceless, and therefore truly realize the nature of every being as peace, the ultimate non-existence of a self. They perceive that the perfect Buddha pervades them all. They possess the understanding that is free from the veils. Thus seeing that beings are utterly pure, and that this purity pervades their limitless number, they are endowed with the vision of primordial wisdom. I bow down to this Sangha. The assembly of those who have understanding, and thus do not fall back, has unsurpassable qualities, since their vision of inner primordial wisdom, which knows correctly and knows completely, is pure. Realizing beings in their state of peace, the noble ones know correctly, for the mind is by nature utterly pure, and the poisons were always exhausted. Their understanding, which realizes the knowable as well as its ultimate condition, sees that the state of omniscience is within all beings. Thus the noble ones know completely. Such realization is the vision of wisdom that is self-aware. This wisdom is pure, since it sees the undefiled expanse, free from attachment and obstruction. Their vision of primordial wisdom is pure and nears unsurpassable Buddha wisdom. The noble ones who do not fall back are therefore a refuge for all beings. The three refuges. Their being the teacher, his teaching, and his disciples leads to respective aspirations towards three vehicles and to three different activities of veneration. Viewing this, the refuge is shown as threefold. The Dharma will be abandoned and is of an unsteady nature. It is not the ultimate quality, and the Sangha is still with fear. Thus, the two aspects of Dharma and the assembly of noble ones do not represent the supreme refuge, which is constant and stable. In a true sense, only the Buddha is being's refuge, since the great sage embodies the Dharmakaya, and the assembly also reaches its ultimate goal when these qualities of Dharmakaya are attained. Their occurrence is rare. They are free from defilement. They possess power. They are the adornment of the world. They are sublime, and they are unchanging. Thus they are named rare and sublime. The last four Vajra points. The virtuous three jewels, which are rare and sublime, arise from suchness bound up with pollution, from the one free from pollution, from the qualities of unpolluted Buddhahood, and from the deeds of the victor. This is the object of those who see the ultimate truth. The disposition of the three rare and sublime ones is the object of vision of those who see everything. Furthermore, these four aspects in the given order are inconceivable for the following four reasons. The Buddha element is pure and yet has affliction. Enlightenment was not afflicted and yet is purified. Qualities are totally indivisible and yet unapparent. Activity is spontaneous and yet without any thought. Constituting what must be realized, realization, its attributes, and the means to bring it about, accordingly the first is the cause to be purified, and the latter 3 points are the conditions. The fourth Vajra point, the element. The perfect Buddhakaya is all-embracing. Suchness cannot be differentiated, and all beings have the disposition. Thus they always have Buddha nature. The Buddha has said that all beings have Buddha nature, since Buddha wisdom is always present within the assembly of beings, since this undefiled nature is free from duality, and since the disposition to Buddhahood has been named after its fruit. Essence, cause, fruit, function, endowment, manifestation, phases, all-pervasiveness of suchness, unchangingness, and inseparability of the qualities should be understood as intended to describe the meaning of the absolute expanse. Just as a jewel, the sky, and water are pure, it is by nature always free from the poisons. From devotion to the Dharma, from highest wisdom, and from samadhi and compassion, its realization arises. Wielding power, not changing into something else, and being a nature that has a moistening quality, these three have properties corresponding to those of a precious gem, the sky, and water. Enmity towards the Dharma, a view asserting an existing self, fear of samsara's suffering, and neglect of the welfare of fellow beings are the four veils of those with great desire, of tirthikas, shravakas, and pratyeka Buddhas. The cause that purifies all these veils consists of the four qualities of the path, which are outstanding devotion, and so on. Those whose seed is devotion towards the supreme vehicle, whose mother is analytical wisdom generating the Buddha qualities, whose abode is the blissful womb of meditative stability, and whose nurse is compassion, are heirs born to succeed the Muni. The fruit is the perfection of the qualities of purity, self, happiness, and permanence. Weariness of suffering, longing to attain peace, and devotion towards this aim are the function. In brief, the fruit of these purifying causes fully divides into the remedies for the antidotes, which in their turn counteract the four aspects of wrong beliefs with regard to the Dharmakaya. The Dharmakaya is purity, since its nature is pure, and even the remaining imprints are fully removed. It is true self, since all conceptual elaboration in terms of self and non-self is totally stilled. It is true happiness, since even the aggregates of mental nature and their causes are reversed. It is permanence, since the cycle of existence and the state beyond pain are realized as one. Their analytical wisdom has cut all self-cherishing without exception, yet cherishing beings, those possessed of compassion, do not adhere to peace. Relying on understanding and compassionate love, the means to enlightenment, noble ones will neither abide in samsara nor in a limited nirvana. If the Buddha element were not present, there would be no remorse over suffering. There would be no longing for nirvana, nor striving and devotion towards this aim. that with regard to existence and nirvana, their respective fault and quality are seen, that suffering is seen as the fault of existence, and happiness as the quality of nirvana, stems from the presence of the disposition to Buddhahood. Why so? In those who are devoid of disposition, such seeing does not occur. Like the great sea, it holds qualities, immeasurable, precious, and inexhaustible. Its essence holds indivisible properties. Thus the element is similar to a lamp. Unifying the elements of Dharmakaya, a victor's wisdom and great compassion, it is shown as being similar to the sea, by the vessel, the gems, and the water. Clairvoyance, primordial wisdom, and absence of pollution are totally indivisible and native to the unstained abode. Thus it has properties corresponding to the light, heat, and color of a lamp. Based upon the manifestation of suchness dividing into that of an ordinary being, that of a noble one, and that of a perfect Buddha, he who sees thatness has explained the nature of the victor to beings. It manifests as perverted views in ordinary beings, as the reversal of these in those who see the truth, and it manifests as it is in an unperverted way, and as freedom from elaboration in a Tathāgata. The unpurified, the both unpurified and purified, and the utterly purified phases are expressed in their given order by the names being, bodhisattva, and Tathāgata. The element, as contained in the 6 topics of essence and so on, is explained in the light of 3 phases by means of 3 names. Just as space, which is by nature free from thought, pervades everything, the undefiled expanse, which is the nature of mind, is all-pervading. As the general feature of everything, it embraces those with faults, those with qualities, and those in whom the qualities are ultimate, just as space pervades everything visible, be it of inferior, average, or supreme appearance. Having faults that are adventitious and qualities that are its nature, it is afterwards the same as before. This is dharmata, ever unchanging. Though space permeates everything, it is never polluted due to its subtlety. Likewise, the dharmadhatu in all beings does not suffer the slightest pollution. Just as at all times worlds arise and disintegrate in space, the senses arise and disintegrate in the uncreated expanse. Space is never burnt by fires. Likewise, this dharmadhatu is not burnt by the fires of death, sickness, and aging. Earth rests upon water, and water upon wind. Wind fully rests on space. Space does not rest upon any of the elements of wind, water, or earth. Likewise, skandhas, elements, and senses are based upon karma and mental poisons. Karma and poisons are always based upon improper conceptual activity. The improper conceptual activity fully abides on the purity of mind. Yet, the nature of the mind itself has no basis in all these phenomena. The skandhas, entrances, and elements are to be known as resembling earth. Karma and the mental poisons of beings should be envisaged as the water element. Improper conceptual activity is viewed as being similar to the element of wind. Mind's nature, as the element of space, has no ground and no place of abiding. The improper conceptual activity rests upon the nature of the mind. Improper conceptual activity brings about all the classes of karma and mental poisons. From the water of karma and mental poisons, the skandhas, entrances, and elements arise. As this world arises and disintegrates, they will arise and disintegrate as well. The nature of mind, as the element of space, does not depend upon causes or conditions, nor does it depend on a gathering of these. It is neither arising, cessation, nor abiding. This clear and luminous nature of mind is as changeless as space. It is not afflicted by desire, and so on, the adventitious stains which are sprung from incorrect thoughts. It is not brought into existence by the water of karma, of the poisons, and so on. Hence, it is also not consumed by the cruel fires of dying, falling sick, and aging. The 3 fires of death, sickness, and aging are to be understood in their given sequence, as resembling the fire at the end of time, the fire of hell, and an ordinary fire. Having realized thatness, the nature of the dharmadhatu, just as it is, those of understanding are released from birth, sickness, aging, and death. Though free from the destitution of birth, and so on, they demonstrate these, since by their insight they have given rise to compassion for beings. The noble have eradicated the suffering of dying, falling ill, and aging at its root, which is being born due to karma and poisons. There being no such cause, there is no such fruit. Since they have seen reality as it is, they are beyond being born and so on. Yet as the embodiment of compassion itself, they display birth, illness, old age, and death. After the heirs of the victorious one have realized this changeless state, those who are blinded by ignorance see them as being born, and so forth. That such seeing should occur is truly wonderful and amazing. When they have attained the field of experience of the noble, they show themselves as the field of experience of the children. Hence means and compassion of the friends of beings are supreme. Though they are beyond all worldly matters, these bodhisattvas do not leave the world. They act for the sake of all worldly beings within the world, unblemished by its defects. As a lotus will grow in the midst of water, not being polluted by the water's faults, these noble ones are born in the world unpolluted by any worldly phenomena. Viewing the accomplishment of their task, their understanding always blazes like fire, and they always rest evenly balanced in meditative stability, which is peace. By the power of their former prayers, and since they are free from all ideation, they do not exert any deliberate effort to lead all sentient beings to maturation. These heirs of the victorious one know precisely how and by what method each should be trained, through whatever teachings, form kayas, conduct, and ways of behavior are individually appropriate. Always acting spontaneously and without hindrance, for sentient beings whose number is limitless as space. Such bodhisattvas who possess understanding truly engage in the task of benefiting beings. The way the bodhisattvas unfold activity in the post-meditative phase equals the Tathāgata's action in the world for beings' true liberation. Though this is true, indeed, whatever difference lies between the earth and an atom, or else between the water in the sea and in an ox's hoofprint, is the difference between a Buddha and a bodhisattva. The Dharmakaya does not change into something else, since it has inexhaustible properties. It is the refuge of beings, since it protects them without any limit of time, until the final end. It is always free from duality, since it is foreign to all ideation. It is also an indestructible state, since its nature is uncreated. It is not born, and it does not die. It suffers no harm, and does not age, since it is permanent and steadfast, the state of peace and immutability. It is not even born in a body of mental nature, since it is permanent. Steadfast, it does not die, not even through the death and transmigration that constitute an inconceivable transformation. Since it is peace, it does not even suffer harm from illnesses caused by subtle karmic imprints. Since it is immutable, there is not even aging induced by compositional factors free from stain. Combining sentences from the foregoing 2 by 2, the uncreated expanse should be known as possessing, in the same sequence, the attributes of being permanent, and so forth. Since it is endowed with inexhaustible qualities, the Dharmakaya is unchangingness itself, and thus has the attribute of permanence. Equaling the uttermost end, it is refuge itself, and thus holds the attribute of steadfastness. Since absence of thought is its nature, it is dharmata, free from duality, and thus has the attribute of peace. Hosting uncreated qualities, it is immutability itself, and thus possesses the attribute of indestructibility. Why is it the Dharmakaya, the Tathāgata, the Noble Truth, and the Absolute Nirvana? Its qualities are inseparable, like the sun and its rays. Thus, other than Buddhahood, there is no nirvana. Since the unpolluted expanse has, put briefly, 4 different types of meaning, it should be known in terms of 4 synonyms, the Dharmakaya, and so forth. Buddha qualities are indivisible. The disposition is attained as it is. The true state is always free from any fickleness and deceit. Since beginningless time, the nature has been peace itself. Direct, perfect enlightenment with regard to all aspects, and abandonment of the stains along with their imprints, are called Buddha and Nirvana, respectively. In truth, these are not 2 different things. Liberation is distinguished by indivisibility from qualities present in all their aspects, innumerable, inconceivable, and unpolluted. Such liberation is also called Tathāgata. Suppose some painters mastered their craft, each with respect to a different part of the body, so that whichever part one would know how to do, he would not succeed with any other part. Then the king, the ruler of the country, hands them a canvas and gives them the order, "You all together paint my image on this." Having heard this order from the king, they carefully take up their painting work. While they are well immersed in their task, one among them leaves for another country. Since they are incomplete due to his travel abroad, their painting in all its parts does not get fully perfected. Thus the example is given. Who are the painters of these parts of the image? They are generosity, morality, patience, and so on. Emptiness endowed with all supreme aspects is described as being the form of the king, illuminating, radiating, and purifying, and inseparable from each other. Analytical wisdom, primordial wisdom, and total liberation correspond to the light, rays, and orb of the sun. One will therefore not attain nirvana without attaining the state of Buddhahood, just as one could not see the sun if one were to eliminate its light and its rays. In this way, the nature of the victorious one is expressed by the tenfold presentation. This Tathāgatagarbha abides within the shroud of the afflictions, as should be understood through the following 9 examples. Just like a Buddha in a decaying lotus, honey amidst bees, a grain in its husk, gold in filth, a treasure underground, a shoot, and so on sprouting from a little fruit, a statue of the victorious one in a tattered rag, a ruler of mankind in a destitute woman's womb, and a precious image under a layer of clay. This Buddha element abides within all sentient beings, obscured by the defilement of the adventitious poisons. The defilements correspond to the lotus, the insects, the husk, the filth, the earth, the fruit, the tattered rag, the pregnant woman direly vexed with burning suffering, and the clay. The Buddha, the honey, the grain, the gold, the treasure, the Nyagroda tree, the precious statue, the continent's supreme ruler, and the precious image are similar to the supreme undefiled element. Seeing that in the calyx of an ugly-colored lotus, a Tathāgata dwells ablaze with 1,000 marks, a man endowed with the immaculate divine vision takes from it the shroud of the water-born's petals. Likewise, the Sugata, with his Buddha eye, perceives his own true state, even in those who must abide in the hell of direst pain. Endowed with compassion itself, which is unobscured and endures to the final end, he relieves them from their obscurations. Once his divine eye sees the Sugata abiding within the closed, ugly lotus, the man cuts the petals, seeing the perfect Buddha nature within beings, obscured by the shroud of desire, hatred, and the other mental poisons. The Muni does likewise, and through his compassion defeats all their veils. Honey is surrounded by a swarm of insects. A skillful man in search of honey employs, upon seeing this, suitable means to fully separate it from the host of bees. Likewise, when his eye of omniscience sees the honey-like element of awareness, the great sage causes its bee-like veils to be fully and radically abandoned. Aiming to get honey that is obscured by millions and millions of honeybees, the man disperses all these bees and procures the honey, just as he wishes. The unpolluted knowledge present in all sentient beings is similar to the honey, and the victor, skilled in vanquishing the bee-like poisons, resembles the man. A grain, when still in its husk, is not fit to be eaten by man. Those seeking food and sustenance remove this grain from its husk. The nature of the victorious one, which is present within beings but mixed with the defilement of the poisons, is similar to this. While it is not freed from being mingled with the pollution of these afflictions, the deeds of the victor will not be displayed in the 3 realms of existence. Unthreshed grains of rice, buckwheat, or barley, which, not having emerged from their husks, still have husk and beard, cannot be turned into delicious food that is palatable for man. Likewise, the Lord of qualities is present within all beings, but his body is not liberated from the shroud of the poisons. Thus his body cannot bestow the joyous taste of Dharma upon sentient beings stricken by the famine of their afflictions. While a man was traveling, gold he owned fell into a place filled with rotting refuse. This gold, being of indestructible nature, remained for many centuries just as it was. Then a god with completely pure divine vision saw it there, and addressed a man, "Purify this supremely precious gold lying here in this filth, and then convert it into something that is worth being made from such a precious substance." Likewise, the Muni sees the quality of beings, which is sunken in the filth-like mental poisons, and pours his rain of sacred Dharma upon them, to purify the muddiness of their afflictions. Once the god has seen the gold that has fallen into the place full of rotting refuse, insistently he directs the man's attention to this supremely beautiful thing, so he may completely cleanse it. seeing within all beings the precious perfect Buddha that has fallen into the great filth of the mental poisons, the victorious one does likewise and teaches the Dharma to persuade them to purify it. If an inexhaustible treasure were buried in the ground beneath a poor man's house, the man would not know of it, and the treasure would not speak and tell him, "I am here." Likewise, a precious treasure is contained in each being's mind. This is its true state, which is free from defilement. Nothing is to be added, and nothing to be removed. Nevertheless, since they do not realize this, sentient beings continuously undergo the manifold sufferings of deprivation. When a precious treasure is contained within the ground beneath a poor man's house, the treasure cannot tell him, "I am here," and the man does not know of its presence. Like the poor man, beings are unaware that Dharma's treasure lies in the house of their minds, and the great sage truly takes birth within the world to cause them to attain this treasure. The seed contained in the fruit of a mango or similar trees is possessed of the indestructible property of sprouting. Once it gets plowed, earth, water, and the other conditions, the substance of a majestic tree will gradually come about. The fruit, consisting of the ignorance and the other defects of beings, contains in the shroud of its peel the virtuous element of the Dharmakaya. Likewise, through relying on virtue, this element also will gradually turn into the substance of a king of Munis. By means of water, sunlight, wind, earth, time, and space, the necessary conditions, the tree grows from within the narrow shroud of the fruit of a banana or mango. Similarly, the fertile seed of the perfect Buddha, contained within the fruit skin of the mental poisons of beings, also grows from virtue as its necessary condition, until the shoot of Dharma is seen and augmented towards perfection. An image of the victorious one, made from precious material, lies by the road, wrapped in an evil-smelling tattered rag. Upon seeing this, a god will alert the passer-by to its presence by the road to cause its retrieval. Likewise, being possessed of unhindered vision, the Buddha sees the substance of the Sugata wrapped in the multitude of the mental poisons, even in animals, and teaches the means to free it. When his eye perceives the statue of the Tathāgata, which is of precious nature, but wrapped in a stinking rag and lying by the road, the god points it out to passer-by so that they retrieve it. Likewise, the victor sees that the element, wrapped in the tattered garments of the poisons and lying on samsara's road, is present even within animals, and teaches the Dharma so that it may be released. A woman of miserable appearance, who is without protection and abides in a poorhouse, holds in her womb a glorious king, not knowing that a lord of man dwells in her own body. Birth in an existence is similar to the poorhouse. Impure beings are like the woman bearing a king in her womb. Since he is present within her, she has protection. The undefiled element is like the king who dwells in her womb. A ruler of the earth dwells in the womb of a woman who has an unpleasant appearance and whose body is dressed in dirty clothes. Nevertheless, she has to abide in a poorhouse and undergo the experience of direst suffering. Likewise, beings deem themselves unsheltered, though a protector resides within their own minds. Thus they have to abide in the ground of suffering, their minds being unpeaceful under the predominating drive of the mental poisons. An artistically well-designed image of peaceful appearance, which has been cast in gold and is still inside its mold, externally has the nature of clay. Experts, upon seeing this, will clear away the outer layer and cleanse the gold therein. Likewise, those of supreme enlightenment fully see that there are defilements on the luminous nature, but that these stains are just adventitious, and purify beings who are like jewel mines from all their veils. Recognizing the nature of an image of peaceful appearance, flawless and made from shimmering gold, while it is still contained in its mold, an expert removes the layers of clay. Likewise, the omniscient know the peaceful mind, which is similar to pure gold, and remove the obscurations by teaching the Dharma, just as the mold is struck and chipped away. The lotus, the bees, the husk, the filth, the earth, the skin of the fruit, the tattered rag, the woman's womb, and the shroud of clay exemplify the defilements, while the pure nature is like the Buddha, the honey, the kernel, the gold, the treasure, the great tree, the precious statue, the universal monarch, and the golden image. It is said that the shroud of the mental poisons, which causes the veils of the element of beings, has had no connection with it since beginningless time, while the nature of mind, which is devoid of stains, has been present within them since beginningless time. The 9 aspects of defilement, desire, aversion, and mental blindness, their fierce active state, the remaining imprints of unknowing, the defilements to be abandoned on the paths of seeing and meditation, and the defilements based upon the impure levels and the pure levels, respectively, are fully taught by the shroud of the lotus and the other examples. When classified, the shroud of the secondary poisons is beyond any end. But when it is comprised concisely, the 9 defilements of desire and the other afflictions are well explained in the given order by the 9 similes of the shroud of the lotus and the subsequent examples. These defilements cause in their given sequence the 4 impurities of children, the impurity of arhats, the 2 impurities of followers of the path of training, and the 2 impurities of those with understanding. When a lotus just born from the mud appears to a beholder, it delights his mind. Yet later it changes and becomes undelightful. The joy born from desire is similar to this. Bees, when extremely agitated, will fiercely use their stings. Similarly, hatred, once arisen, brings suffering to the heart. The kernel of rice, and so on, is obscured by its outer husk. Likewise, the vision of the true meaning is obscured by the eggshell of ignorance. Filth is repugnant, being the cause for those bound up with greed to indulge in sense pleasures. The active state of the poisons resembles it. When wealth is hidden, one is ignorant of it, and therefore does not obtain the treasure. Likewise, self-sprung wisdom is veiled in arhats by the ground of remaining imprints of ignorance. As by gradual growth from bud to shoot, the skins of the seed are cut, the vision of thatness averts the stains to be abandoned by seeing. Through their junction with the noble path, they have overcome the essential part of the transitory collection. What their wisdom must abandon on the path of meditation is explained as being similar to tattered rags. The stains based on the 7 impure levels resemble the defilements of the shrouding womb. Concept-free primordial wisdom is released, like the mature prince from the womb's confine. The defilements connected with the 3 pure levels should be known as being similar to the layer of clay. They must be overcome by the vajra-like samadhi of those who are the embodiment of greatness. Thus desire and the further of the 9 defilements correspond to the lotus and the following examples. Its nature unifying 3 aspects, the element has properties that correspond to those of the Buddha and the other similes. Its nature is dharmakaya, suchness, and also the disposition. These are to be known by the first 3 examples, the 4th one, and the following 5. The dharmakaya is to be known in 2 aspects. These are the utterly unstained dharmadhatu and the cause conducive to its realization, which is teaching in the deep and manifold way. The dharmakaya being beyond the worldly, no example for it can be found in the world. Therefore the element and the Tathāgata are explained as being slightly similar. Teaching in the deep and subtle way is like the one single taste of honey, while teaching through various aspects resembles grain in its variety of husks. Since the nature is unchanging, full of virtue and utterly pure, suchness is said to correspond to the shape and color of gold. Similar to the treasure and the fruit of a tree, the disposition is to be known in 2 aspects, as it has existed as the nature since beginningless time, and has become supreme through right cultivation. The attainment of the 3 kayas of a Buddha is seen to stem from the twofold disposition. By the first aspect there is the first kaya. Through the second there are the latter 2. The beautiful svabhavika kaya is like the statue of precious material, since it exists naturally, is not created, and is a treasure of gem-like qualities. Wielding the sublime majesty of the great Dharma, the Sambhogakaya resembles the Chakravartin. Being of the nature of a mere representation, the Nirmanakaya is similar to the golden image. This truth of the self-sprung ones is to be realized through faith. The orb of the sun blazes with light, but is not seen by the blind. Nothing whatsoever is to be removed. Not the slightest thing is to be added. Truly looking at truth, truth is seen. When seen, this is complete liberation. The element is empty of the adventitious stains which are featured by their total separateness, but it is not empty of the matchless properties which are featured by their total inseparability. The sutras of the second turning of the wheel of Dharma state in numerous places that all knowable phenomena are in all ways empty like a cloud, a dream, or an illusion. Why is it then that in the sutras of the third turning of the wheel of Dharma, the Buddha, having said this, declared that Buddha nature is present within beings? With regard to faint-heartedness, contempt for inferior beings, perceiving the untrue, disparaging the true nature, and exceeding self-cherishing, he said this to persuade those who have any of these 5 to abandon their defects. The final truth is, in every respect, devoid of anything compounded. The poisons, karma, and their product are said to be like a cloud, and so on. The mental poisons are like a cloud. Karma resembles a dream experience. The skandhas produced by the poisons and karma are similar to an illusion or a deceptive apparition. For the time being it was thus expounded. Additionally, in this unsurpassable continuity it was then taught, the element is present, so that the 5 evils would be abandoned. As long as they have not heard this, bodhicitta will not be born in those whose minds are feeble and faint-hearted, stirred by the evil of self-contempt. Having engendered a little bodhicitta, some profoundly imagine, I am supreme. Towards those who have not developed it, they are imbued with notions of inferiority. In those who entertain such thoughts, true understanding will not arise. They hold the untrue to be true, and thus will not realize the truth. Being artificially produced and adventitious, these faults of beings are not truly existent. In truth, these evils do not exist as self, but exist as the qualities, by nature pure, while they hold the evils which are untrue to be true, and disparage the true qualities, denying their presence. Even those of understanding will not attain the love that perceives the similarity of oneself and others. Once one has heard this, joy will be born, respect as towards the Buddha, analytical wisdom, primordial wisdom, and great love will arise. Through the arising of these 5 qualities, one is rid of the faults and sees similarity. By realizing the absence of defects and the presence of qualities, and through love, seeing the equality of oneself and all beings, Buddhahood will be quickly attained. This was the section Tathāgatagarbha, the first chapter of the commentary on the highest continuity of the Mahayana Dharma, which analyzes the disposition of the rare and sublime ones.